What's up, YouTube? I'm Brett from Rants. As always, guys, if y'all enjoy our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Alright, guys, for those of y'all that's worried that the cinema is dead, apparently not. Because Marvel will not let it. and that's the reason, why at the end of the day, I feel like Marvel, Disney, all of these big kind of like studios, DC, Warner Brothers, all of these studios, I feel like they're holding on maybe to a relic of past glory when it comes to theaters. And I hate to say that, and don't get me wrong, guys. I am not anti-theater. I'm not. It's just those last few times that I went to a theater before all of the stuff that went on in 2020, it just was so costly, and I didn't enjoy the appeal to it. I guess it appealed to me more as a kid, but as things just kind of become more expensive, and I don't know, by the time you take your entire family to go see it, it just you're like, oh man, I spent all this money for this show that, let's say a franchise like I don't know, Marvel or Star Wars or something like that, and I'm paying all this money for a movie that I didn't really enjoy to begin with, or that I enjoyed, but was it really worth the price of admission? So there was a lot that went into going to the theater back in the day. I mean, even before all of what went on. So, I mean, to me, I feel like they're holding on hope that these billion-dollar franchises will still continue. I just don't believe that that is going to be the case anymore. I think streaming services are the way to go. I think overall you'll make your money back one way or another if you're constantly posting quality content. That's the key. If you're posting quality content, you will be getting more subscribers to your streaming services, and you will get a consistent following through that. And the only thing I would say that I would worry about it is it's getting so saturated with all these different streaming services. Maybe you could see, some of these big name franchises kind of dying out to a certain extent. Because, I mean, think about it. Something like Star Wars, or let's go Marvel, is another thing on Disney Plus. They get so many shows out at one time. It just floods it with content. And, it's like, hey, I'm excited about WandaVision, and now I'm going to have to be excited about Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier and all of these other things. And I'm like, okay, I've had enough. But overall, I'm not a huge Black Widow fan. But when I read an article that says Marvel has no plans to release Black Widow on Disney Plus, I think to myself, probably making a mistake. But this is the reason. Well, let me just say this real quick. The reason why I think they're making a mistake is because what they're gonna try is they're gonna try to release it on Disney Plus and on theaters. But if theaters don't get the full max amount of people, they're not gonna survive. So you're not doing them any good by a third of the people going to theaters and 3/4 of them going to these streaming services. So you're not doing theaters any good. You're not going to keep those theaters up, and they're not going to be able to stay in business. So I kind of feel like, on that, I feel like you don't have any choice but to go streaming services. I think they should just hit it hard and see if, this is the way of the future. I mean, if it doesn't work, I get it. Wonder Woman 1984 was a huge success for HBO Max. It was. But it must not have been as huge as what they were hoping. Even though it was astronomical at the subscribers that HBO Max got from Wonder Woman 1984, it must still not have hit the number that they were hoping for overall. Because if they were, I think you'd just be hearing Marvel saying, you know what, we're going to be releasing Black Widow out to theaters. I mean on streaming services just completely. I think you would. I think they'd be throwing theaters under the bus. I feel like they still are in this phase of looking at it and saying, "Oh, well, we had $1 billion franchises when it's in theaters. We might have a little less when it comes to these subscription services." So I mean, um, I kind of feel like they're a little greedy, but I kind of feel like they're just kind of in the past. People are not going to. You're not going to get majority of people going out and seeing these movies in theaters. Only the hardcore people or really bored people or really rich people are going to do that because money's tight with a lot of people. And if you've got a family of four, you have fun. If you're, going out there and spending all that money on popcorn, movie tickets, all the sitting next to someone that's got a cold or loud kids in the theater that's making noises while you're trying to listen to what's going on screen, or those sticky seats, or cup holders that are broken. Yeah, you have fun with wanting that. I'll admit, I get it. I grew up with the theater thing, but at the end of the day, they're not as fun as what you remember. Yes, I get it. We go through nostalgia stages, but theaters weren't all that people remember it to be. We just don't want to see it, I guess, die because it is a part of our childhood, I guess. I mean, I guess that's the way I kind of look at it. And movie industry doesn't want it to die because they don't feel like these streaming services, they'll be able to get these squeeze out all the money from these streaming services, especially once it becomes so saturated with content. That's the way I look at it. But let me go ahead and read what it's saying right here about Black Widow. It says, rumors of Black Widow switching tracks and becoming a Disney Plus release have swirled ever since the Marvel film's first delay in March of last year. Several studios have adopted streaming strategies amid, what's going on. Whether it's individual examples such as Disney's Mulan and Soul, or more sweeping measures like Warner Brothers plan to send every 2021 movie to HBO Max in theaters on the same day. Black Widow is currently scheduled for a release on May 7th, but many believe yet another delay is likely. This has once again made fans wonder if a Disney Plus release is on the horizon. A new report from THR indicates this isn't likely. While discussing how most major studios are holding their biggest films for when theaters are back to relative normal, it's mentioned insiders with knowledge of the situation say there are no plans to ship Black Widow off to Disney Plus. It says nothing about another release delay, but evidently if Black Widow does get bumped, fans shouldn't expect a Disney Plus debut. Now, I know there's a lot of people that's excited about this movie. I, unfortunately, am not. They could push back this movie for another 10 years, and I wouldn't really care. Looking back on those Marvel movies, I look back on them now a little bit more fondly than I did initially when I saw them. Watching them with my kids and watching them with my wife, it kind of changed my perspective on some of them. Some of them was better than what I had remembered them being. I kind of fell back in love with the Iron Man character. Those movies, I just thought every single one of them to me was brilliant to a certain extent. Yes, there was some of them that wasn't as good as the original, but they were still overall really good quality movies. Really great superhero movies. I could say the same thing, for the Captain America movies. I enjoyed them as well. But I never really got into Black Widow. Like she never was like the character that I was like so intrigued over. And I wanted to love Thor, but I just was like, those movies to me were boring. Like they just were like boring from beginning to end. So I never was big into those. But I know there's a lot of Black Widow fans out there, and they don't care whether or not this comes out on Disney Plus or if this comes out in theaters. They're going to go see it. Um, but my question to you is there enough Black Widow fans? Is there enough Marvel fans after this delay? After Black Widow supposed to have been the thing that kicked off Phase 4, and now is going to be kind of pushed back to the middle. We've got WandaVision out now. We're going to have Loki out, I think, by the end of the year. And, of course, we got Falcon and Winter Soldier. We've got all of these little things, these series that are going to be coming out. But is there going to be a lull when it comes to movies? I get it. These series are really popular. But are we going to be as excited to see a Black Widow movie after, really not seeing anything from Marvel lately? Except for, of course, WandaVision, which really, to be honest with you, doesn't really feel that Marvel to me. So, I mean, I kind of believe that Marvel's best days are behind them, too. I think that DC finally has the opportunity to make up ground. But after seeing Wonder Woman 1984, I'm kind of on the fence about that as well. I thought Wonder Woman 1984 was going to be this huge hit, and it was going to change how we view DC movies when compared to Marvel. And that was one of those movies that I watched it, and I'm like, as a DC fan, I was like, let's sweep that under the rug a little bit. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Let's pretend that it was a huge success. Let's pretend that it was better than what it was. I kind of had that mindset, but then the critic in me was like, that was garbage, and it needs to be told that it's garbage. And we just got to come to the reality that DC movies still are not fixed. Like, they're still not that good. And of course, everybody's excited about Snyder Cut. I think Snyder Cut is extremely overrated. I am not excited to see Snyder Cut hardly at all. But anyways, guys, let me know what y'all think of this. Do you think that Marvel should release Black Widow? Do you think they should release it in theaters? Do you think it should just be released on a streaming service like Disney Plus? Do you think it would do better in theaters if they went all in on theaters instead and not, at the end of the day, kind of do a mixed bag between the two? Or do you think that these streaming services are just the way of the future, and we just got to learn to accept that, and these studios got to learn to accept it as well? I kind of fall into that category, but let me know what y'all think. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and y'all take care.